Does creatine cause hair loss? This question has been discussed for many years. Online, you can often find claims that creatine increases the hormone DHT, dihydrotestosterone, and that this could accelerate hair loss. Because of this, many people start to worry about taking one of the most popular sports supplements in the world. But let's take a look at what the science actually says. Creatine is one of the most studied supplements in sports medicine. Over the past decades, hundreds of scientific studies have been published, including clinical trials, systematic reviews, and meta-analyses. And when we carefully look at the scientific evidence, one thing becomes clear. The entire idea that creatine causes hair loss actually started from one small study published in 2009. Yes, just one. So to understand whether this fear is really justified, we need to look closely at what that study actually showed and what later research discovered when scientists tried to test those results. Let's take a closer look. Let's start with the study that started this entire concern. In 2009, researchers conducted an experiment on a group of rugby players. 20 athletes participated in the study. It was a randomized, double-blind study, one of the standard methods used in scientific research. The athletes took creatine for 3 weeks. During the first week, they used a loading phase, about 25 grams of creatine per day. After that, they continued with a maintenance dose of about 5 grams per day. During the experiment, the researchers measured several hormones in the blood, including testosterone and dihydrotestosterone, DHT. And this is where the result appeared that started the entire debate. The study showed that DHT levels increased in the participants. After this study was published, many people began to say that creatine might be linked to hair loss. But there is one very important detail. The study did not examine hair loss at all. And this is a key point that is often overlooked when this topic is discussed. Now it's important to understand why the results of this study cannot be directly linked to hair loss. In this experiment, the researchers only measured hormone levels in the blood. They did not examine the condition of the hair. They did not measure hair density. And they did not observe changes in hair follicles. So the study did not actually test whether creatine causes hair loss. It only showed a change in the level of one hormone. But even that change needs to be interpreted carefully. First, the study was small, only 20 participants. Second, it lasted only 3 weeks. Hair loss usually develops over months or even years. So it is impossible to draw conclusions about the long-term effects of creatine on hair from such a short experiment. That is why, after this study was published, scientists began to investigate this question further. To understand this topic properly, we first need to understand how the most common type of hair loss develops. The most common form of hair loss in men is called androgenetic alopecia. Scientific research shows that this condition is strongly influenced by genetics. In people who are genetically susceptible, hair follicles are sensitive to a hormone called dihydrotestosterone, or DHT. Over time, DHT can gradually shorten the growth phase of hair and cause hair follicles to shrink. As a result, hair may become thinner and shorter. However, an important point is that hair loss is not determined only by the level of DHT circulating in the blood. The genetic sensitivity of the hair follicles themselves plays a major role. Because of this, people with similar hormone levels can experience very different patterns of hair loss. Because of this biological complexity, scientists are cautious when interpreting hormonal changes observed in short-term studies. The idea that creatine might influence hair loss mainly comes from a small study published in 2009 that observed an increase in DHT levels. However, this study did not measure hair loss directly. Since then, many studies have investigated the safety and physiological effects of creatine supplementation. Large scientific reviews, including position stands from the International Society of Sports Nutrition, have analyzed decades of research on creatine. These reviews conclude that creatine monohydrate is one of the most extensively studied supplements in sports nutrition. Importantly, current scientific evidence does not show a consistent link between creatine supplementation and hair loss. So what can we conclude based on the current scientific evidence? The concern about creatine and hair loss originates mainly from a single small study published in 2009. That study reported an increase in DHT levels, but it did not measure hair loss itself. Later research and scientific reviews have not consistently confirmed a causal relationship between creatine supplementation and hair loss. At the same time, creatine remains one of the most widely studied supplements in sports science. According to major scientific reviews, creatine monohydrate is considered safe for healthy individuals when used in recommended amounts. Therefore, based on the evidence currently available, there is no clear scientific proof that creatine causes hair loss. However, as with many topics in science, further research is always valuable. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing to the channel. In future videos, we will be breaking down many more myths in sports science, nutrition, and training. There is a lot of misinformation online, and our goal is to examine these topics using scientific research and evidence. And if there is a specific topic you would like to see explained, write it in the comments. Your questions and ideas help shape future videos. Thank you for watching.